Welcome back, everyone. This is episode 6. Is that
This is
6?
episode 6. Yep.
Of another one for the books. We have read less chapters this time, but we'll get to that soon. First, let's catch up. How you doing?
Oh man. So my parents, no, I shouldn't say my parents. My dad and my sister got back from Japan. They got me some cool stuff. So audio listeners, you won't see how amazing my 12 Samurai t-shirt is. But look
12
at it.
Samurai.
It's
Oh yeah,
so
that's cool.
badass. I'm gonna
Yeah.
turn around and lose the mic, but
Oh, interesting. What is there like a 12 Samurai lore or history?
like the 12 Ronin, I should say, not 12 Samurai.
Oh, 12 Ronin. Okay.
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
that's hard to pinpoint. I'm not a historian, but they were the ones who were left to defend a village that was being because they asked them to come in.
okay.
And
For
yeah,
some
I
reason, I
think
always thought it was 7, but yeah, you're right. It's 12.
I think it's 7 samurai, but it was 12.
7
I think it's a
Samurai. That's
separate.
right. Yeah, 7 Samurai is what I think about. I don't know. Anyways, I'm not
Anyway,
up to date on my Japanese history.
me neither. I'm just cool. I got cool stuff from Japan, fresh off the plane this afternoon.
Oh, really?
So,
They got like to
they just got
Vancouver?
back today, like 2 hours ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Are they
and
staying with
so
you?
they're staying over for the night.
Oh,
They're
nice.
leaving bright and early tomorrow for good old Prince George. Oof.
Cool.
It's
That's
gonna be a
awesome.
big old
How
shock.
long were they in Japan for?
Oh, 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks.
No, that's pretty
Yeah.
long trip.
Yeah, they were there visiting my other sister who's been studying out there
Right.
Japanese for
That's
about a
right.
year now, just over
Yeah.
a year.
Cool.
And she'll be back in 3 weeks,
Oh,
end
wow.
of July.
Everybody's coming back.
They're all coming back, and then my other sister's here with her kid from the old
UK.
Blighty from the UK, from Britain, British
Yes.
in it.
Right. Yeah.
I can't wait to pull that one off when
Of course. Yeah, I'm sure.
when I go see the.
Sure, she's
They're
gonna
all.
love that.
Yeah. I'm gonna really pull that one off so
Mhm.
fast. And then they'll come down. All of them will be coming down in August for a family gathering. So that's gonna be a lot of fun.
Cool. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And you're liking your new job?
It's getting kind of boring.
I mean, that's life at a big company, dude.
That's the thing. I'm just like,
Yeah.
huh. Yeah, I get the creds. That's cool of working here, and I want to stay to make sure that the the work that we do for the payload, for the satellite payload, goes through, and I have
Mhm.
this giant project as part of my experience. So I'm definitely going to be there for that. But so far, not impressed. I do miss the startup life a lot. I don't know. I don't get it. I thought I
Startup
would
life
hate
is
it.
definitely a lot more fast-paced.
It's a lot more exciting. I think I'm
Mhm.
just someone who needs to have that. Oh, what's the term? Pressure isn't the wrong term to say because it feels kind of negative. But it to me, it's just a new problem to tackle
Mm.
that you spend a lot of time to try and solve. And for me, it's a lot of fun. Whereas here, we have the solution. It's just taking ages to implement
Mhm. Right.
because there's so many different teams all across Canada that have
Right.
to get on the same page. And we tried to do a demo of the work we've done so far today, and we spent. It was supposed to be 2 hours, but we spent. It was extended to 2.5 hours, and 80% of the time was, oh, is this the right procedure of how we want to do this demo?
Mm.
Instead
Right.
of here's the demo, let's talk about the demo.
Yeah,
Oh god. And so tomorrow we have another 3-hour meeting to go through the demo.
That sounds awful.
I just want to pull my hair out sometimes. And it's only been a month and a half.
Yeah, really. Well, at least you got a
Fantastic.
job, I guess.
That is true. I can't complain
Beggars
there.
can't be choosers.
Beggars cannot be choosers.
Yeah.
I do miss my old job though.
For sure.
Oh well. I love it. I still like it a lot. Yeah, I should say.
Good.
That's
awesome.
Yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
You've been pretty busy yourself, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm super busy. This summer has just been extremely busy. I'm always doing something. I have a lot of friends in town, and a lot of people visiting. So pretty much every day is, well, not every day, but a lot of the days are going out to do stuff. Like my entire week is essentially spoken for already. This is like the only free night that I have. So yeah, it's been super busy. It's nice because it's
Ah,
summertime and we get to go out and do stuff all the time. But yeah, definitely not a lot of free time right now.
everybody's coming back to Prince George all of a sudden. What's going on?
Yeah, a lot of people visiting.
Mm,
So we had some friends here for like 3 weeks. I got another friend
mm.
who's here for 6 months.
Whoa,
And it's
six
just because
months.
it's summertime. Everybody wants to go out and do stuff.
Mm,
The smoke is putting a hamper on that right now, or damper on that. But we can still do indoor things.
mm.
I think we're all going out for like music trivia or something tomorrow. So yeah,
Nice.
it should be fun.
Where's that? Black Clover?
Trench
Trench. Trench
Trench
is
Brewing. It's
great.
a microbrewery here in town. We've been there before. We went for a Quentin Tarantino themed trivia,
Ooh.
which was good.
A lot of feet questions.
Actually, no, surprisingly not.
What?
But they did.
What?
Okay, the guy asked a question that everyone was in my team, at least, was really upset about. Also, our team name was The Last Christoph Waltz.
Huh?
But what is it? So the question was, who is the person who starred in the most Quentin Tarantino movies? And all of us were
Oh.
like, it's got to be Samuel L. Jackson. And
I want to say Christoph Waltz though.
he only started recently. Samuel Jackson's been in them
Mm?
since Pulp Fiction. Maybe even
Oh, you
before
know
that.
what? You're right. No, I do remember that because he
Yeah,
was in the one with Leonardo DiCaprio. Uh,
Django.
yeah, Django
Yeah,
Unchained. Love that. That's such a good movie.
that's a really good movie. Yeah. Anyways, the answer that he chose, the trivia guy, was some like stunt person that no one's ever heard of, because
Of
technically the stunt
course.
person's been in every movie. But then
Oh my
I
god.
was yelling at the dude at the time. I wasn't like, I had a couple beers, but I wasn't being belligerent. But I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I was telling him like, that is not starring. Starring in a movie means that your name's on the marquee. You're one of the people that they market the
Mm-hmm.
movie around. That is starring in a movie. Being a stunt person isn't starring in a movie. But anyways, he didn't listen to me.
That's like, yo, the person who's always there in the end is the lunch lady because she gives out lunch to everybody. She's
Yeah,
the
she's the
always been there
star.
since the beginning. She's the
Yeah,
star.
I know.
You know what?
Anyways,
Maybe it is. Maybe who knows?
I was a little upset. So we'll see. Hopefully we don't get that guy for trivia tomorrow. But anyways, long
It's not a
story short,
guarantee.
long story short, I'm busy. I'm a busy man apparently. The summer's yeah,
Man,
hectic.
Mr. Hot Topic over here, Mr.
Yeah, it's great.
Popular.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's nice to be going out and doing stuff often.
Hmm. I've noticed your shelf here is getting more full. What are those little cards there?
Oh
They're
yeah,
like
so those are
cartridges.
they're PS1 games.
Oh,
So
you talked about that last time.
yeah,
Yeah.
so my all of my old games got stolen when I was back in Vancouver because our storage locker got
Yeah.
broken into. And I
Mm.
have a friend, one of my friends who's in town. His mom, he's there visiting his mom, and his mom's probably going to sell her house eventually and move to a different town to be closer to her family, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, he can't keep a lot of the stuff because he's a fairly transient guy. So he
Mm.
gave it to me. So yeah, he gave me his old PS1 games and a bunch of stuff. So these like in the shelf right behind me, you can see like it's Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9 on the
Oh,
middle
there's
shelf there.
Cloud.
Metal
Yeah.
Gear Solid. There's like a Zelda Ocarina of Time and a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of other like PS1 games. These
Mm.
right behind well, this side, yeah, right behind me.
Yep.
Where those you can't really see it well, but those bookends are actually Mistborn
Mm.
bookends.
Oh,
Um,
spoilers.
I
Should I
know
look
I won't.
away?
No, I won't tell you what they are. But when we get there, I'll bring them up to the camera and show you.
That's
But yeah,
fair.
I got those in a box, and then there's more like PS1 and Dreamcast games there. So it's all just like a collection of things that I kind of grew up playing.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. I'm
Yeah.
really happy with it. It's really nice of him to give it to me, so I wanted to make sure I put it on display.
Nice. Oh,
Yeah.
you know what I got recently? It's pretty nice. Some
What?
first edition books from my favorite author, Neil Stephenson.
Oh, nice. Those are always
Yeah.
fun to get.
Oh, they're so good. One
Yeah.
of them
Are
is
they
like from
hardbacks?
1999. They are hardcovers,
Nice.
and I have to get
Nice.
protective sleeves for them. One of them I
Yeah.
have, but the other one I have to get.
Yeah. If you take them
Yeah.
to I mean, I know you're in Vancouver, so if you take them to Carson's on Main, they'll put them on for you.
Mm. I did walk past them. I went to
Yeah.
Polly's,
That's one of
and
my Oh
Chris
yeah.
literally like 2 blocks away or
Did
two
you
stores
did
down.
you get your haircut by Darcy?
Not by Darcy.
Oh, okay.
Loisha. Shout out Loisha. He's
Okay.
a Ukrainian immigrant, so
Oh,
proud of
nice.
that guy, supporting him.
Yeah, no, Paulie's is a great place. Yeah. That's
Mm.
where I used to go to get my haircut all the time.
Yeah, I think you recommended me them.
I did. Yeah, I
Yeah.
told you to go to Darcy.
I was like, oh, who's this guy? Oh, I'll pick him.
Yeah, it's all good. Whatever. They're a great place. And
Mm.
yeah, the
You know what
bookstore
else is a
there
great
is one of my favorites. It's got Carson's
Carson's, yeah.
books. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what else is a great place? Elantris.
Elantris.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we bit off a little bit more than we could chew last time. So this time and going forward indefinitely, we will be reading 5 chapters only. So this week it is chapters, if I'm got my numbers right, it is chapters 21 through 25 to the end of 25.
Including, yes, that is
Including
correct.
25. Yep. And 25 is a bit of a big one, bit of a chunker. So yeah, overall thoughts before we dive into, like, we'll do a little overall thoughts right now and an overall thoughts after, but before we dive into it, how are you feeling?
I love these chapters. They really pivoted. I mean, coincidentally, like just past halfway. So I'd say it's around the climax section of Elantris because a lot of stuff is about to happen. We see a lot of characters getting involved with each other. One not so much knowing
Mm.
what the other one's up to, but the one for sure is trying to sneak a fast one.
Yeah,
But
I'd
the other
say
one's
in like
catching on.
probably the next, yeah, the climax will be in the next like 150, 200
Hmm.
pages probably. We're getting
Yeah.
close, definitely. Like things are starting to ramp up a bit.
I still feel like Hrathen's my favorite character, though. I think
Oh,
it switched
really?
from Sarene to Hrathen because we get to see the foundation crack beneath him.
Yeah, for sure. It's
Yeah.
he's more, they're humanizing him, right?
Hmm.
Like he's not a one, he did come as the villain, but he's not one dimensional. And you can sympathize with, him
Yeah.
and the questions that he's asking himself, which I thought was really cool. I too
Well,
liked these chapters. Sorry, go ahead. Do you have
yep.
something?
No, well, that was my question at the end of it. Maybe I should hold it for then. So
Sure.
go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I also like these chapters. I feel like things are ramping up a bit.
Mm,
I like a lot of the interactions. A couple main characters finally got introduced to each other, though they may not. One of them doesn't know that they're who they're actually talking to.
mm,
But yeah, we're seeing a lot of it's moving more quickly. A lot of the setup has
mm.
happened now. We have like the base world and the base magic system, even though we don't know too much about it. And the almost essentially the full cast of characters, they're getting more and more fleshed out, and now all of these interactions are happening. So yeah, I'm definitely liking it a lot more.
We're getting a lot of. I think I want to say we've pretty much started to uncover most of the stones left unturned because we get a sneak peek of who the last gang leader is, which was a totally unexpected twist for me.
Oh yeah, that was cool. Yeah.
And we get to discover a bit more of Elantris' secrets
Yep.
and
We still don't have
potentially
all of the questions about the door, the magic
no.
system.
But we've been calling it well though for so far, where the Shayad itself it seems to be incomplete, and that's what
Yes.
appears to be the case.
Yeah.
Like it's like been tampered with or like funneled off in some way.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
we're on the money there. We're on the money there.
Yeah, I think so.
Mm,
There's also like I made that guess because of a few other things in Sanderson's book, and I know that this is all connected to the Cosmere, so that's
wow.
where I got my initial hunch as to it not being complete. Uh,
I
but
just
we'll
did a
get
subtle
there.
knife reference last time, but okay. That was my
So,
only inclination.
all right, shall we dive in to
Let's do
chapter
it.
21?
Yes.
All right, this is a Hrathen chapter, and
Hmm.
it's basically, I would summarize this chapter as another Hrathen versus Dilaf.
But
Um,
more intensely, it's more like it's like a game of chess he's losing. Like he
yes,
was very cautious at first, but now he's totally lost. Like
I
he's
think
no way he can
essentially,
actually get back.
and it's kind of a credit to the way Sanderson wrote it, is that
Mm,
Hrathen and the reader has underestimated Dilaf.
yes.
Yeah.
We've
I mean, we knew something was up with
yes.
him, and we knew that he's probably not, we know that he's probably not long for this world. But
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
thought that
think
he
that
was
he
gonna
was that crafty.
that's the thing. I had no idea he was that like clever, I
Yeah.
guess, or crafty.
Yeah.
I would say sneaky as well. You know, all the traits of a weasel, if we wanted a description.
Yeah, for
That's what
sure.
he
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Dilaf, I should say. Yeah.
Yes, not Rothen. So
Yeah.
yeah, this chapter picks up with Rothen in his what is it?
Chambers.
In the chapel. Yeah, in his chambers.
Yeah.
He's not wearing his armor, I don't think. They muse a little bit about like how he doesn't like to wear his armor all the time because it's uncomfortable, but it gives like a
Hmm.
menacing sort of silhouette.
Gives him the authority. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's trying to promote an Arteth to head Arteth because he's finding that all of the administration work to run the chapel is taking up too much of his time, and time is
Mm-hmm.
running out for him to start to convert people of Fjordell, or the people of Erelone to the the what is it, Shudareth. So he picks this one Arteth. His name is Thered, to try
Mm-hmm.
to promote him. And the guy's obviously, he's like a little taken aback, and he's very humble, like most of the guys in this religion. But he refuses, and
Yeah.
Rothan is very surprised about this. And one of the things that that I notice is that one of the core tenets of Fjordell, or one of the core attributes of being from Fjordell, is that you have ambition. So he's a
That's
kind of a
yeah.
bit like disgusted by this guy's turning and down, like he's really
Disgusted
put
and
off.
disappointed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Uh, Go ahead.
um there's also another reason why he wanted to give it to this guy
Mm.
and not to Dilaf, because
Oh yeah.
he's worried that he's going to give too much power to Dilaf, because he's
Yes.
already, like, we're already seeing Hrathen trying to pivot away from Dilaf, because he's realizing he's becoming more of a liability, as we were pointing out, obviously. But I feel like it's too late, as we're going to see in a minute.
Yeah, I think that's the more important thing to point out, is that
Mm,
he doesn't want Dilaf to be in power, so he wants to give it to someone else. And secondary to that is that he doesn't have enough time.
yeah.
S-
So
Go ahead.
our sorry, this priest who rejected
Thered.
Hrathen's offer, Therid, he um his like his reaction to it was very interesting. I.e. the fact that he like quickly turned it down. He's like, no, 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 I can't do this.
Hmm.
Which told, well, Hrathen finds out, it's like, oh, someone's controlling him. Someone's told him not to take it,
He
and he
does.
immediately
Yeah.
goes to Dilaf.
Yeah. He makes that connection.
Mm,
Yeah, that connection, like, is someone else behind this, and obviously
mm,
the only person it really can be is Dilaf.
mm,
Um, so in order to deal with Dilaf, Rothan wants to get him basically out of his hair. So he gives him a task. He wants him to hand deliver this letter to Wern.
mm.
And
I
go ahead.
Is it the same? Is it the same? Because remember, in the beginning, Hrathen had two envelopes to give to the previous um, Arteth,
Hmm.
which was, one was like, go back, you're redeemed. The other one was like, whoever holds this letter gets to die.
Yeah,
Is
you're
this the letter
right.
that's gonna get Dilaf to get killed?
I mean, it could have been. Yeah, he didn't say, but yeah, that's actually a really good point. It
Mm,
absolutely could have been that letter. I didn't make that connection, so that's a good one. So yeah, he does want to get Dilaf to hand deliver it to him, and Dilaf is a little bit taken aback, but of course, because of the relationship, the Odiv Bjorn, I think that I no Odiv and something. I can't remember what the other one is, but that master and
let me check the
apprentice
book here
relationship,
quickly. I
is it
forgot.
Roden? Roden? Odiv and Roden?
Hroden,
Anyway,
Hroden. So Odiv is the apprentice.
Padawan.
Odiv is, and then okay, Padawan, and then the master is the Hroden.
Yes. Okay. So because of that relationship, Dilaf can't refuse. He has to do it. Um, so he says, "Okay, I'm gonna go, but
Mm,
obviously, I have to take my Odivs with me." And for the reader and
yeah,
for Hrathen, this is the first time we're like, "Wait a minute,
you could do
he has
that.
Odivs? Yeah, you can do that." And yeah, so we get a little bit of internal sort of reasoning from Hrathen, where he's like, "Yeah, he has the power to do this." And also, Rothan has no power to say that he can't take his Odivs. So the
That's right.
relationship, that master and apprentice relationship is almost it's pristine. Like, it's no one else can interfere with it.
Hmm.
Even your master can't interfere with your master and with your apprentice relationships. So Rothan starts asking him, like, okay, who are your Odivs? And he essentially lists like everyone.
Everybody,
Yeah.
all of the, like, I don't know, altar boys,
Yeah,
like
all of the key
priests,
members of the chapel,
the
like,
clergy.
yeah, he would not be
Yeah,
Rothan would not be able to run the chapel with Dilaf left, essentially. So it
and
would make everything 10 times worse.
it's a power move by Dilaf,
Oh,
because he
100%.
did it behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And B, when I think Dilaf picks up from Hrathen that he is not needed there, and Hrathen's up to something to get rid of him.
Of
So
course,
Dilaf's
yeah.
like, all right, I'm gonna take everybody out.
Yeah.
You can do
If
this
I'm
by
going
yourself,
down,
huh?
you're all coming with me.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. So,
And
yeah,
so,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Sorry.
Okay.
No, you got this. You got this. I believe in you.
He So Hrathen's like, all right, fine. Get somebody else to take the letter. Just whatever, find somebody else. And he just like he's kind of done with it because he makes that calculation in his head. Like these are so many people, I can't do this without him, or I can't run the chapel without these people. So he
Mm,
has to allow him to stay. So after that, Hrathen, I think he needs to get away from Dilaf. Like he just needs to, you know, decompress, think. And we now know that he often goes to, excuse me, that he often goes to the walls of Elantris to do his thinking
mm-hmm,
for the very reason that it is away from Dilaf. So as he's traveling there, he does come across a couple beggars in the street.
mm-hmm.
And they tell us that they can't beg in K because the king outlawed it. And they talk a little bit about the outlying towns around
Mm-hmm.
Elantris.
I do recall them saying they can't beg A to merchants and B at certain times in the day
Yes.
in the
Yes. So
city.
that's why Rothan saw them. I think it's nighttime. And
It's in the evening, yeah.
yeah, and he's like, I don't ever see beggars. So that's why he starts questioning them and asking like,
Mm.
why are you here? Like, why don't I see you during the day? That kind of stuff. We get a little bit of exposition about that. It's a little bit disconnected from the rest of what's happening. So I feel like that's going to come back at
Mm.
some point. Something about beggars, or I don't
It
know. Maybe
was
there's a connection there.
there was a my inclination is that it kind of shows to what Sarene was asking about before about K, like oh it's so pristine in the city, but then as soon as you turn like turn a corner, you see like very poor people like shunned away from the main streets,
Hmm.
sort of way. So and that was like very much in the beginning. I want to say it's the second chapter of the book for Sarene's first chapter where she notices the disparity in like the
Yes.
lush luxuriness, like a
Yeah.
facade, if you will. Um, but I find like he's on his way to the walls, but I find this interaction a sort of like a window peek into Hrathen himself, where he's like, I guess he's very pious, but he also understands the plight of those being left behind, and that's why he
Mm.
gives them a big bag of gold to
Yes,
this
that's
beggar
right.
guy.
Yes, he does.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's
uh,
still pretty charitable.
he's very charitable. That's right. And that's my thing. I don't think he's a bad guy.
No, I think he's just he's on the wrong side.
He's on
You
the
know?
wrong. Yes,
Yeah.
we get to see those sides maybe shift a bit in the next
Hmm.
moment.
Yeah. So he's done his walk now, and he's on top of the walls of Elantris, just sort of
Mm,
peering over. And then Omen, who is the head of the Karathi church in K, approaches him, and they have a bit of a discussion about truth versus belief. Rothan is again, using his logic to try to say that truth is essentially like he's trying to like brute force it, like just like reinforcing this idea of what this is makes it true,
mm,
whereas Omen is a little bit different. We get a little bit of the juxtaposition between the two faiths, one being like more active and one being more passive, at least in Rothan's eyes. But the
hmm.
big one of this is at the very end when Omen questions Rothan's faith, and he asks him like, what happened to your faith? Like obviously at some point you were faithful, but in when I listen to your lectures now, it's all logic, and it sounds great and it makes sense, but I don't feel any passion or faith from his sermons. Um,
Hmm.
and there's a question that he asked at the end. I can't remember exactly what it is, but Rothan takes in a deep breath and he kind of like hisses like go to tell Omen to leave. And that's when Omen
Yeah,
walks away and he's just sort of left pondering this question about his faith.
I think what it's just like a discussion where Omen is just testing Hrathen, and it's because he notices that, like you said, it's very logical. And so I can read it to you if you want, this little passage.
Sure, yeah.
It's page 304 for people who keep in track, who want to follow along. Let's see here. Do, do, do. No, Omen said. I came to ask you a question. Then asked priest. Leave me to my thoughts. I want to know what happened, Omen began speculatively. What happened, Hrathen? What happened to your faith? My faith? Hrathen asked with a shock. Yes, Omen said, his words soft, almost meandering. You must have believed at one point, otherwise you wouldn't have pursued the priesthood long enough to become a Gjorn. You lost it somewhere, though. I've listened to your sermons. I hear logic and complete understanding, not to mention determination. I just don't hear any faith, and I wonder what happened to it.
Yeah.
And then you said Hrathen hissed inward slowly. And so
Yeah.
I think Omen is like poking, tearing at the seams a bit at Hrathen. And I don't know why, but my first thought is it's just I think it's just Omen making fun of Hrathen. I don't know. Or making him realize something's amiss with him. I have no
Possibly.
idea.
I feel like maybe it could just be the genuine concern because this
Mm,
religion seems like it's just more altruistic and
mm.
just trying to help people. So he sees someone in need and he maybe just be trying to reach out to him and see if he can get some help. But he definitely, I don't want to give him too much benefit of the doubt in that there might be an ulterior motive there. You know, he might be planting the seed for a reason because they do mention.
Seed of doubt.
I don't think it's this chapter, but it's another chapter where a Rothan chapter where he walks into the chapel and some of the Artets and other people are talking about how there are more conversions happening than has happened ever before since this pirate raided Teod. So like he's obviously losing people.
Mm.
So he might have done the question for that as well, for that reason.
Is that that's chapter 25?
I
Oh
think it's
gosh, my
20,
notes.
24 or 25. I'm not sure, but it is the chapter where he walks into the chapel in here. It's 24.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was the Hrathen chapter.
Yes. Chapter 22, Raoden again. So this is
Mm-hmm.
a interesting one. So we join Raoden and Galadon in the middle of them being attacked. I think the first line is something like Galadon telling him to duck or something.
Yeah.
So the attacks from Sheor's men are becoming more and more frequent. Raoden explains that this is because they're getting more and more desperate because they haven't
Mm.
had any newcomers since I don't even know, like probably a week or something. Raoden has just been gathering everybody.
It's been 2
Um,
months since he's been in
it might have been,
Elantris.
yeah. I think it's been a
Yeah.
while, yeah. So it's been a while that Sheor's men haven't had new recruits.
Mm.
So Galadon and Raoden are on a bit of a stealth mission, I would say. They are going to try and parlay with Sheor. Because Galadon at some point is like, we should have bought Saolin, the soldier, and he's like, as much as he's a great warrior, he's not very
Not
stealthy.
very good at
So
stealth. No.
we need a little bit of subterfuge in this endeavor. So
Yeah.
they're that's what they're doing. They're going to find Sheor. They get to Tact halfway through, and
Mm.
then they go to Sheor's base, which is a bank. Makes sense. It's really well fortified. So if there was any place to pick a fortress, a bank would
Yeah.
probably be a good
Base of
one.
operations. Yeah.
So they sneak in, and this is when we get the Sheor reveal that it's a little
Plot
girl.
twist.
It's a
Yeah.
girl in a pristine pink dress with long blonde aeonic hair. So essentially, the people of Elantris see the hair and they probably keep her in nice clothes. But because they saw the hair, they made her a bit of an idol and they just kind of like worship
Mm.
her. And as they're like peering at her, she notices them and she just like tells them, like, kill them, kill them. And then they run away. And
Now
as
there's go ahead, go
after
ahead.
they run away, they do have a discussion where even more is revealed, which the identity of Sheor, which is Duke Telri's daughter, which is very
Yeah.
interesting. So the
Such
Sheod,
a
so she was,
twist.
it was quite a twist. Yeah, I was surprised to see that. So the Sheod took her 2 years ago. So she's been in Elantris for two
Mm-hmm.
years, which is a long time, and she never grew hair as a child. So she had a
Mm.
wig put on, like a permanent wig. And I guess
The same wig. It's the
when they
same wig.
yeah, and
Oh
when they
my god.
put her
Yeah.
into Elantris, they didn't
I
take the
didn't even
wig
think about
off.
that.
No, so that's yeah, that's why they think
Yeah.
she's special.
Yeah, it's also revealing of Tallery's character of like, oh, you're not my daughter anymore, and like throws her away, like doesn't
Hmm.
even bother. Like, I don't know, maybe it's just the household that they come from. I think Raoden mentioned something of the fact that unexpectedly this makes sense that this is Lord Tallery's daughter because A, she's such a brat, um,
Yeah.
and B, the fact that it's always very much self-centered and demanding things. Like we get before they jump into jump in before they peer into the bank, they hear like high-pitched screaming of Sheor demanding food,
Hmm.
and then you see all of like her followers like like I guess like bowing or kneeling before her, and that's why they become so aggressive. Is that it's not because of the lack of followers; it's the lack of food brought in by the people being casted into Elantris.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and that
Yeah.
source of food is going to
Her.
Raoden and everybody else.
Oh, I see. Yeah, the source of food
Yeah,
now. Yeah, the source of food
yeah,
when Shear's men were taking it was probably going
mm,
to her.
yeah.
Um, yeah. So, yeah, Telri obviously, like you said, it shows a bit of his character. I would say Iadon probably has the same character, and that they did the
Yeah,
same
yeah, yeah.
thing with Raoden. Like they just covered it up and said that he died, because he
I
does
mean,
say that
that's why
like
Raoden doesn't like his dad that much,
yeah
even
he does.
before.
He does say that like the his daughter being taken by the Sheod was a rumor, right? So there was never officially anything that was said. It was just like
Mm.
she died, and the rumor was that she was taken by the Sheod, and
Ooh, that's a good point, Mike. I didn't think about that. There wasn't any rumors about Raoden getting the Sheod. It's just he died.
he died of like consumption or whatever their name of it is. But yeah,
Mm.
and yeah, to your point as well. At some point they talk about like, okay, well, we can't reason with her because she was, like you said, a brat on the outside. She's probably 10
A
times
lot
worse in
worse
here.
now.
So they
Yeah.
just kind of like give up on that like line of thinking. So as they're heading back to their base, we get, I think this is the first time, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the first
Mm.
time that they refer to their base of operations as New Elantris. And we get a little
Yes.
bit of insight into like its structure. So there are 11 streets that lead into it. Apparently that makes it so it's easier for them to defend. Maybe another configuration would have had even more streets going in, so it would have been more difficult. Um, and Raoden is like the constant pain, and also like trying to do all of what he's trying to do is starting to get to him, and it's starting to have an effect. And uh, he he's trying to push through, and Galadon is also trying to motivate him, but we're starting to see a little bit of the cracks there.
Yeah. He's oh, I'm trying to find the passage in this book on page 311, but no, it's just a series of internal monologues of
Yeah.
he's trying to be stronger. He's trying to,
Yep.
make it better for everybody else here. Try to
Yep.
set a good example. He's gotten so many scrapes and bruises as a result of trying to see if Shior is reasonable, but can't. Yeah. So it's tough.
Hmm.
It's gonna be tough for him going forward.
Oh, for
But I
sure.
feel like, whew, maybe this is like another, maybe like a guess going forward. I feel like they're going to be exploring more of Elantris regardless. I think that's the focus afterwards because we get a reveal that they find a secret passage to something pretty cool and devastating. But I think that's going to be the focus with Elantris now, is to just ward off attacks by Sheor and they just keep on digging down
Possibly. Yeah.
because it's going to be like a last ditch effort because I think Raiden's going to get overwhelmed by the pain more and more. He might go crazy.
He might. Yeah. Um, that's a very good point for sure.
Mm.
So before Raoden can get a little bit too down in the depths about what's happening, Maresh approaches him and lets him know that a princess is visiting.
What?
Someone's at the front gate and he thinks
Who
it's a
could that
princess.
be?
Yeah.
Let me see here.
So
Wait, what? Go ahead, sorry.
that's okay. So Raoden and Galadon go to the front gate, and they're just kind of
Mm.
watching from a distance. And we note who's there. Or Raoden notes who's there. Shuden and Sarene, and I think might be a couple other. I'm not sure if there's
Royal is
those are the
also
two that are mentioned.
there.
Yeah, Royal and the
Andal's there.
Aendel. Yeah,
And
Ahan might be there too. I'm not sure, but because
I think
there
it's
are
the
multiple times where she comes now. So
mm,
there's a different configuration of people. I think at least a few times. So one thing about this is that Galadon knows who Shuden is.
yeah.
He sees Shuden and he's like, "That's that Jindoese guy named Shuden, isn't it?" And then Raoden's like, "Who are you? Like, you're not just a farmer, obviously. You know who this is."
We get
Galadon
a
makes some.
reveal.
Well, Galadon makes some excuse that like all of the people of Duladel knew who Shuden was, but I don't really buy it.
Yeah.
There's, like I said, this entire time, I think there's a lot more going on with him.
Mm,
So yeah, there's a cart full of food.
which could
And
be a problem.
yeah, Raoden doesn't not like this. He talks about how this is going to essentially ruin all the progress they've made, because the cure, quote unquote, to this time has been keeping yourself busy to keep yourself
Mm,
distracted. But once people now have, because they're hungry, and once people now have all this food in front of them and potentially a, constant delivery of food, they're just going to give up. They're just going to leave Raoden's thing and just go wait in front of the front gate for food to show up so they can eat and then not do anything. Which is a good point, and I think which does eventually happen, unfortunately.
yeah, because the
And they
wilderness trial
also,
doesn't last that long, does it? It's like
no,
5 days?
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
They also remark a bit about how, Sheor's men will attack the cart, and how, Sarene has good intentions, but this is probably the worst possible thing she could be doing for the people of Elantris, because it's not allowing them to build themselves back up. It's them being charity cases and essentially being at the whims of people who don't have to live in Elantris and deal with, you know, the
Mm,
consequences of having the Sheod.
it's an easy way out, but
Yeah,
the
exactly.
consequences are more dire than they would be.
100%. Yep.
Yeah.
So before the chapter ends, we get one last sort of interaction with Sarene. She wants to speak to the tyrants of the city. So
Mhm.
her intelligence is a little bit dated, because she wants to speak to Andin, Karada, and Sheor. So she has no idea what Raoden's been doing and how that's been affecting things.
Mhm.
So they obviously can't get Sheor. And Andin apparently is gone. He's too busy looking at the floor being amazed, because we just don't know what
Thank
happened to him.
thank goodness, that guy sucks already. I hope he
that
doesn't
is
become
that
like
is
a
a bit of
Hail
a
Mary.
that is a bit of a plot hole. Maybe he's going to show up and save the day, but he just like, I don't know. I don't even want to talk. We talked about it last time. That part
Mm.
was one of my least favorite parts of this book so far.
Mhm.
Um, so instead of getting Andin, they're going to get Maresh to play the part of Andin and summon Karada and get the two of them to um, parlay with Sarene, and yeah, figure
The
out
nobles. Yeah.
what the make some demands, I guess, which is what we get in the next chapter. So next chapter is from Serene's point of view, picking up where we left off with
Mm.
Raoden. So I think it happens in the last chapter in 22, where Raoden approaches Sarene. This is where she, like, after she wants to talk to the tyrants of the city, or maybe it happens in between. I'm not sure, but at some point he does approach her, and he calls himself Spirit, and he's guiding Sarene and her group, Andel, uh, Shuden, and the rest of them
To the palace.
to the palace to speak with Karada and Andin.
Yep.
Um, so Serene,
That's what happens first.
okay, good.
Yeah, yeah.
So Serene does make, or she assumes that, excuse me, that Spirit is not a servant, but maybe like a trusted kind of minion, something like that,
Mhm.
because like the way he walks and the way he carries himself. Um, yeah, he doesn't walk or like a servant, and she can recognize that. I think actually they take him, in my notes I have that they take him to the university. I could
Mm.
be wrong though, because the
I'm on
palace.
that section here. Hang
Yeah, I'm
on.
not sure.
Who You can keep going. I'm just gonna find it.
Okay, yep. So Andin and Karada, so she meets with them, and she's like, where's Sheor?" And
It is
they
university.
say,
My bad.
it is okay. Yep. So
Yeah.
they say Sheor's been killed, which is
Mhm.
convenient, and Andin and Karada have made an alliance. So they only have to parlay with her. They don't have to worry about Sheor. So Sarene wants to deliver food, but she knows, or she assumes, at least when she went in, that she's going to have to bribe these people to make it happen. She's going to have to bribe these tyrants. So I know that I think Maresh kind of plays around a bit with it, but Karada's straight to the point. She's like, "Do you have
Mm.
someone to take down our demands? Because I got stuff to say. I got stuff I want." And I
Yeah.
think Serene is also a little bit surprised, because I'm pretty sure she expected them to want like weapons and gold, other things, but their demands are fairly mundane. Things like cloth, grain, metal.
The actual
Um,
basics of living comfortably.
yeah,
But
or
we
the
also
ability to, like, make it so that you can live
Mm.
comfortably.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
we get to see that surprise, I guess, or shock from people who don't live in Elantris, where everyone assumes they're just monsters,
Mhm.
or I don't know, people who've gone mad, I suppose. No one expected for any of them to have a conversation period. And now to this
Yeah.
point where it's just actually making demands such
Yes.
as this. And so, I mean, you and I, it's, why is it this case? But to people like Sarene and the other nobles and Hrathen, even when he captured that previous Elantris,
Hmm.
they didn't know. They were shocked and surprised too.
Yeah. And
So,
we sort of
yeah.
get like an insight, or we get to
Mm,
view that in the next chapter when everybody's watching her give out food, right? Because everybody thinks that this princess is going to go into Elantris and get eaten alive because these people are all monsters.
that's
Um,
right.
but it's
Yeah.
again, like right now we're getting a sign that they're not, and that they're actually a little bit more. There's a little bit more depth there than what a lot of people are thinking. So
Hmm.
in exchange for all of the demands, the tyrants cannot forbid anyone from coming to the courtyard and having any of this free food.
Hmm.
So after this, Sarene leaves. She's going back to to the gate to start giving out food.
Hmm.
Galadon is wondering why, why can't we just be honest with Sarene? Um, and Raoden doesn't want to do this because he wants people to perceive the Elantrians as docile and non-threatening. But if they know what
I remember
Raoden's
that.
doing, so Galadon is like, why don't we show her new Elantris?
Hmm.
Why don't we be honest with her? All this stuff, and Raoden's like, if we do that, then the people of Kay could potentially think that the Elantrians are a threat, and want to do something about it. They'd be worried about an uprising, like, oh, these people aren't mindless, these people aren't desperate. They could potentially, come out of the gates and harm us.
Hmm.
Whereas if they stay as charity cases, then that perception doesn't really change. Um,
Mm, I thought it was because they didn't want Elantris or new Elantris to be perceived as a new civilization because that will elicit fear.
yeah, that's we're
Yeah,
saying the
yeah.
same thing, I think.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
I thought, in my mind, I thought it was the other way around, where it's like, oh no, we don't want to be perceived as like poor, not poor. Sorry, that's the right term. Like disheveled
Helpless.
creatures, helpless, right?
Yeah.
We could stand for ourselves, but we don't have the supply, right? No, that was my bad. I'm like I've written notes in my book.
Oh,
I had to
okay.
say, uh, because for me, I find that having a notebook and then writing notes in there or bringing my laptop and doing that is kind of tedious. So I just end up writing in my book like little scribbles and stuff like
Mm.
that in
I
pencil.
I go, yeah, that's a good way to read a book. In fact, there is a book called How to Read a Book, and that is how they tell you to read a book, is by writing
Ha!
notes in the margin.
I should write that
Anyways,
book.
yeah, I do it. I read it through without anything, and then
Mm.
I have a, what is it, the Kindle copy as well, and then I go through the Kindle copy and
Oh,
then take my notes down on a notebook or on a note taking app at the same time. So I end up going through it twice.
okay,
Anyways,
handy.
yeah, that's a little behind the scenes, a little peek behind the curtain for you guys. So the next section is when they're giving. I think this is when they're giving out. They're
Mhm.
distributing food. Serene's talking to the different lords, and Spirit is also there. Um, and at first, the Elantrians are scared to take the food until Spirit Raoden takes a turnip, shows it to them, takes a bite out of it, and then that starts to get them to actually start taking the food.
Like
Um,
grabbing it and taking away and eating it right away.
yes,
Yeah.
and while this is happening, while the people are taking the food,
Mm.
Raoden is watching this and Sarene notices that it's a bit of that Raoden has a worried look on his face, and
Mhm.
she's kind of questioning why are you
You would
worried?
care.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. Like there's something else going on with this guy,
Mhm.
and she can't really pinpoint it yet. So
We also.
go
Oh,
ahead.
go ahead. Sorry.
No, no,
Oh,
it's okay. I was
okay.
just going to go to the
All
next
right.
section if you have something.
In a bit of the beginning as well,
Hmm.
Serene was surprised. Like we talked about, people outside Elantris being surprised when they beat Elantrians that
Hmm.
you could converse with them. Um, Serene was upset that she didn't get all the information right, and she believed that Ash was her right source of information because whenever
Yes.
Ash went down, Ash would always see like the brutality and the
Yep.
dog eat dog world that Elantris
Yep.
is, and then is disappointed. to see the opposite in this case. So it's yeah, I to me it feels kind of weird, like kind of jarring, where I don't know how often Ash went down, or I don't know where, but I feel like
Yeah.
Ash should have seen some sort of, organization, especially in the Karethi Chapel, where they're actually growing things and cleaning things up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I wonder if there's like gaps that Ash didn't bother going, or did Ash actually go down? I don't know.
A lot of
So I
it, I
found that
think,
a bit weird.
could depend on how big the like Elantris actually is. Like maybe, and how big
Hmm.
New Elantris is, right? If New Elantris is super tiny compared to, like, if 11 blocks is really
Hmm.
small compared to the size of Elantris, then maybe it's just something that he could have honestly missed. Um,
Oh,
but
that's
yeah,
fair.
I
Yeah.
do, we don't get a lot of knowledge as to like how Ash is sourcing his information.
Mm.
I definitely would like to know a lot more about these Seance, to know like what, like where do they come from? Are they people? Were they people? Did they die? Like, I don't know. Lots of
Ooh.
questions.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, to that about the Ash investigation stuff. In the next section, Sarene is talking to Ash about it, and that she
Mm.
wants him to, and specifically investigate Spirit, to
Mhm.
know what's going on, because something is up there. And she's already too busy with, she's teaching fencing lessons. She's got to go to court. She's got to go to her uncle Tyen's place every once in a while. And now she's got to
To
do
be
all these
the
food
lady of the court.
deliveries.
Must be
To
so
be a lady of the
tiring.
court. Yes. So
Tea
she's a
parties.
busy girl.
She's a busy girl.
Yeah, but she does wonder, if she's misjudged Elantris, which we know she has. And she really wants to get to the bottom of who Spirit actually is.
Yeah, and I feel like Serena takes it a bit too far, because the demands she does technically keep, but she's a bit of a piece of shit about it. We'll go into it when we go into that chapter. I hate that. I dislike it a lot.
Okay.
Serena down, Hrathen up.
All right, fair enough. I,
Raoden kind of creeping up the score a bit.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, that's fair. Okay. I was going to make a
Mm.
point about another Sanderson book, but I'll try to remember to make that connection next time.
If you
Or
write it
when
down, you won't
whenever we get
forget.
to that book. Anyways, it's a long ways away.
Oh my god. We'll never
Um,
finish this.
we will. It's just going to take a couple years. So Hrathen, chapter
Fair enough.
24.
Mm.
So this is when Hrathen and a bunch of other of his potential converts and just people from K are above on the
Mm.
walls of Elantris, watching Sarene deliver the food because they want to see a princess get eaten alive. And that doesn't
Mm.
happen. And once it does, all of them get bored and start to leave.
Yep.
Hrathen is pretty much resigned to this happening. Like, he's not concerned. He
Mm.
kind of expected it. But I also wonder if there's a little bit of that, questioning his faith. He's not all there. Like, he doesn't have all the passion that he used to have, and especially the passion that Dilaf has. So he's just kind of resigned to what's happening.
Hmm. He's very
And
strategic,
oh
especially when he
yes,
discusses with Tellery what's happening,
yes,
because Lord Tellery is there, and he's complaining that, oh, see, the whole people is disbanding. There's
yes,
not much to do here, and you can't get me to the throne now. You have no leverage.
yes. So Hrathen does, comfort him and
Mm.
sort of just like mollify the situation. And he talks about, Tellery does also mention that Iadon is now bringing in more money because he has a contract with Teod. And Hrathen's rebuttal to that is that you can bring in more money on the throne than Iadon ever would if you have a contract with the Empire,
With
which is
Jordan Empire,
something
yep.
that Hrathen has the power to do. And this makes Telri just, okay,
Mm.
that's fine.
Because
I understand now.
the true dynamics of it all is the wealth
Yes,
in this
that's the
case,
system
right?
that Iadon set up.
Hmm.
Yeah. Now,
And go ahead, sorry.
well, just one thing I noticed that I thought was interesting too was um, the way that they encounter each other, Hrathen and Telri, is that a
Mm.
cart pulls up, like one of those sealed carts that people ride into, like with doors or whatever,
A
and
carriage, yeah.
it has the Aeon RII on the side, so that's how he knows that it's Telri's. And then he just gets in
Ah,
without anything. Like, the cart comes and like stops in front of him, and he just walks in.
yeah.
Um,
He also gets like ejected. Well, not ejected.
yes,
Told
yeah,
to
and
get
he's
the
really
boat.
pissed off about that. So
Yeah.
apparently, in the Empire, Gjorns, especially Gjorns of his level, are
Mm.
people that you take care of. You don't discard them. You don't treat them
Dismiss.
poorly.
Yeah.
But he treats him poorly. He's like, all right, well, my mansion's over here, your place is over there, so get out.
You can
I'll talk to
walk.
you later. He's not
Yep.
happy about it.
No.
So this is what we mentioned earlier. This is when Hrathen gets back to the chapel and he hears
Mm.
Arteths talking, and they're like, these are the most conversions we've ever seen.
Mhm.
Um, and this is when we get a little more insight into Dilaf. So Dilaf mentions that there haven't been this many conversions since the pirate Draok Crushthroat attacked
Cool
Teod.
name. That'd be
Yeah,
my
super
pirate
cool name.
name.
That's a
Yeah.
super cool name. He attacked Teod 15 years ago. And at this point, Rothen's like, okay, you are older than I thought you were.
Yeah,
Um,
I thought he was a young guy too.
yeah, so Dilaf put him, or sorry, Rothen put him at like I think in his 20s. But
Mm.
after Dilaf said this, then he must have been an Arteth because he's talking about conversions. So he must have been an
Mm.
Arteth 15 years ago. So maybe he was in his 20s 15 years ago. Maybe that's when he became an Arteth. Um, so he looks
Ooh.
at him. Rothen takes a closer look at him and can start
Mm.
to see the signs of age, like maybe crow's feet or just kind of like wrinkles and stuff. But he's just one of those people, I think, Dilaf, that he doesn't age quickly. He ages well, gracefully, I guess is the word you could say.
Mhm. Like a
Yeah,
George Clooney
yeah, for
or a
sure. Yeah,
Pierce Brosnan,
yeah, yeah.
but these are high praise for Dilaf, so let's find, like, a shitty person.
That ages well.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Yeah, I
Ooh,
don't know.
damn, that sucks.
Yeah, I don't
Okay,
really.
well, I'm
Anyways,
sorry.
he's a
Sorry, Pierce
shitty person
Brosnan and
that
George
ages
Clooney for
well.
listening to this podcast.
I hope you are. I hope they both are.
I hope
Um,
you know what? Maybe. Who knows?
yeah. So this also means that Dilaf could have had influence over the Artets a lot longer
That's the
than
thing.
Hrathen originally
Yeah.
imagined.
So
Yeah.
he's been there before. Well, I mean, like Hrathen showed up and Dilaf was there previously. But what kind of weird is that Dilaf didn't make. Oh no, that does make sense. Dilaf was in charge of the whole time at this parish. Because
No.
the previous.
Oh, we got the previous parish that he was at. Yeah, the
Yeah.
rural one. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, in this one too, even though the head priest was like kind of going local, I suppose,
Oh, I
like
see. So
becoming more
like he had a lot of
Eilish.
influence.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
with all of his otives, I suppose. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay.
And so they
Yeah.
give him time to to step into the light, I guess. He was like
Hmm.
biding his time
I
and
think
he
so.
yeah.
Yeah. Patient.
Mm.
So yeah, this line of thinking eventually leads Rothen to again questioning his faith. And he has the
Yeah.
confidence in himself to be able to deal with outside influences, but he's
Mm.
questioning whether he has the ability to win the internal battle. So that's the big question for Rothen going forward. So
Poor
chapter
Hrathen.
poor Rothen. I mean,
Poor
something.
Hrathen.
He's an interesting character. I'm agreeing
Yeah.
with you that he's one of my favorites for sure.
He's got under 2 months left before they all die or something like that.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
he's got a lot to do.
Yep.
So chapter 25 was a beefy one. I actually didn't take notes on this. I'm going to be going off of the summary.
Uh-oh.
Because it was just so long, and by the time I had gotten to this point, I was like, I've had enough of taking notes. So yeah, this is Sarene and Raoden are distributing food. There's other nobles there as well. I think this is when Ahan is also there, and they're talking about like he doesn't want to dirty any of his clothes, but and they're like, couldn't you wear something cheap? And he's like, I don't
He's like,
own anything
"This is my
cheap.
cheapest one," or something like that,
Yeah,
yeah.
he doesn't own anything, and they make fun of his clothes. That might have been in a previous chapter. It's just something I remember.
Well, there's still in this chapter, the beginning is them dishing out the food and the supplies, with Raoden helping Serena. Um, and I
Mhm.
think Raoden really wants Serena to see him in a way. They're trying to remember, like, get her to like understand that it is Raoden and not this character as spirit. But he gets kind of sad that Serena doesn't like clue that in, and it makes sense
Mhm.
because they never met in person before,
Yeah, and
and
he looks completely different.
they only Skyped, quote unquote, with their seance.
Oh my
So they've
god.
never really seen each other's like full physical attributes before.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, and I think Raoden mentions that in the very first encounter with Serene.
yeah.
He's like, I've only ever seen her by Seod or Seod.
Mm,
So yeah, they're sorry, the nobles are distributing the food, and then after
mm,
the nobles leave, Raoden and his crew are looking at the non-food stuff that they all got. And
I hate
while
it. I hate it so much.
while Sarene has honored the agreement, she hasn't
Mhm.
given them good things. Like the cloth is all an ugly color.
Yep.
I think that they talk about how the metal that they got the first time was in like the wrong form, so they had to get more specific. Like they
It was
wanted
in, like,
sheet
long
metal.
sheets. Yeah, and then it
Yeah.
said per pound, and Serena gave him buckets of nails.
Yes.
I was so
Exactly.
upset, like, why
Yeah.
is Serena doing this? Like,
Uh,
is it because, like, she feels tricked that she has to, like, be spiteful against him? Maybe that's
yeah.
what it is.
She might be
She's like
playing with them.
yeah,
I'm not entirely
she's
sure.
because she knows that she's being played back and
Yes.
realizes that Spirit is definitely bit more of a key member and feels kind of insulted that they're not being as honest with her as that she wanted to.
Yes.
Um, so maybe that's a maybe that's her way of being like, no, you. I don't know.
Yeah. Possibly.
I hate
So
it.
it's pretty frustrating. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um,
To say
so
the least.
also, Raoden's sort of, initial worry about what could happen with the food deliveries, that comes true. So
Hmm.
he's lost, I think, around like 30 people from his crew. And all of these
Hmm.
people now are just waiting in the courtyard for Serene's food deliveries it seems like every day, I think this is happening.
Yeah.
Um, so Raoden does go find Seolin at some point, and he has fended off an attack from Sheor's gang, but he's also taken a fairly serious wound to
Huge
the arm. I
wound.
think
Yeah.
Karada is the one who's sewing it up.
Yes.
But he seems pretty unfazed by it, which is surprising.
It's kind of weird. I wonder if
Yeah,
it's because he's found his quote unquote cure, which is defending the
defending
people.
Raoden.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Raoden and whoever is in New Elantris. Because again, the more that Serena brings food out, the less there are in New Elantris because they don't
Hmm.
need to do any work. They could satisfy their cravings immediately, even if it
Yes.
is just for a moment.
Yep.
Um, but I mean, maybe good guy Salen moment where he doesn't need that. He's found his purpose, which is defending. And maybe that's a
Yes.
mark on the soldiers themselves, the private army that Aondel has, who Salen was part of. So
Yes, they
yeah,
do.
I think it's a testament to the
So
character.
yeah, the one of the in an earlier chapter when they talked about Andel before he
Mm,
showed up, they did talk about like how well trained his army is, like how disciplined all of his soldiers are. So yeah, that's
mhm,
definitely be reflected in Salen right now. So
mhm,
yeah, obviously he's worried about Seolin, but he can't really do much about it. They still need to kind of focus on keeping Shear's followers away from the courtyard, which is I think where he got the wound.
mhm,
Um, and because they want to discover, like, what are Serene's motives? Like, why is she doing this? Also, why are she giving them crappy goods? So there's a lot of
mhm.
questions around her motives.
But no answers yet. But I
No,
think it's because that she feels that she's being slighted, so she's
she's
doing
being
it in
played.
turn.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So we do get a little bit of insight into what Raoden's quote unquote cure is. And for
Hmm.
him, it's practicing aeons for like hours a day.
Yeah.
It helps him to, push away that sort of constant agony. And he's getting apparently pretty good at it. So I think
Hmm.
from what I understand, he's doing it by a window, which is where his room is, which is
Hmm.
next to where the crops are, because there's a talk about how
Yeah.
like he has to smell manure when he's sleeping.
To keep himself grounded or something. I don't know.
Something like that.
But
Yeah. But
Lebanon is like outside chilling or
exactly.
doing
So they're having a
whatever.
discussion through the window
Yeah.
essentially.
Mm.
Um, and this is when we get a bit of a reveal about the Aeon Door, the magic
Hmm.
system, and what could be happening, which is so like what you were talking about, that essentially the transformation has been suspended. It
Hmm.
hasn't been completed. It doesn't have enough energy or enough power to complete it. And that could also be why, the city itself is crumbling, because again, there's not enough, whatever it is, magical energy, whatever it is that this magic system runs on to power all of this stuff. And while the Sheod must be a process that just it happens regardless, but it can't be completed. So also,
Mm.
this is why they're still alive, right? And
Mm.
because all of the Elantrians were immortal, but it's also why they can't heal, because the energy isn't enough to sustain them. So they've gotten to the Sheod and whatever it was called before
Oh no.
whatever the transformation was called before it all
Already
fell
going on
apart.
that note.
Whatever I don't have it either. Whatever you did to become an Elantrian, there were probably steps involved. So like, okay, while this person's transforming, they have a mortal life, and then more energy gets put in, and now all of their stuff can be healed, and then blah blah blah, and then eventually they become a full
Ooh, you think it's
god.
staged?
I think it's suspended, like it stopped at a certain point. Like they had enough energy to go to a certain point, but it didn't have enough energy to go all the way to the end. So it's like suspended.
Interesting. Okay, I
Yeah.
never thought about it that way. I thought it was just more there wasn't enough power to complete it, and so it's like it's like a borderline of like being dead, but then also being reborn into
I
this
think
god
I
like
think
status.
they think they do mention that it's the door, like the force that is what's
Fucking
keeping them
force.
from dying,
Yeah.
right? So they're able to stay alive, but they don't have enough midi-chlorians to heal
Oh
themselves.
no, don't. Bigger than Master Yoda's. Never
uh,
seen midichlorian counts this large before.
mm-hmm. Anyways,
Good lord.
yeah. So we also get a bit of Raoden and Galadon.
Bit of
Galadon
banter.
getting a bit interrogated about
We
who
get a bit
he
of a
is.
reveal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we get a reveal that Galadon grew up in Elantris and his father was an Elantrian. From when what he says is probably the only unhappy Elantrian. So he grew, I
Yeah.
guess, tired and bored of eternal life. I can't really recall exactly what sent Galadon's father down his spiral, but he also did die. So
He chose
Galadon
to die.
chose to
That's the
die.
thing.
Yes.
Or I
So
should say Galen's dad, who we don't get a name, if I remember correctly.
no, I can't remember if they gave him a name. I'm not sure.
So there's a reason why he gets upset and sad. It's because
Okay.
his wife dies of a disease he didn't have enough time to find a cure for.
That's it. Yeah.
So
Okay.
even
That
though
makes sense.
Elantrians are quote unquote gods of this realm, they can't cure death unless you're Darth Sidious, in which case
that's
Star
a
Wars
very
parallels.
that's a very Superman realization, like when Superman's dad
I guess
dies.
so.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
has that same thing, like I have all this power but I can't save people from dying.
Or even like Lois in certain universes of the comic
Yeah,
are
where
like
she
renditions
died
of
too.
Superman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the mark of, oh yeah, that's right. That's Superman. No, Justice League.
Mm-hmm.
Injustice, where Joker kills Lois
Oh yeah, and
and then
Superman goes
Superman
crazy.
kills the Joker
Yeah.
because like out of anger and stuff like that, and then Superman realizes like, oh, the world is actually awful, and I better become the ruler of all. And
Yeah.
he changes, but he like doesn't die. He just becomes a tyrant.
Yes. Yeah. Of
If
course.
we
Yeah. No one's killing Superman.
No, they just cage him into the shadow
Shadow
realm. I don't
Realm.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our
Anyways.
games, whatever. We're
Anyways.
getting out of here.
Yeah, we're really going off here. So
So
yeah,
yeah, so it's
Galadon's father was depressed.
mhm,
Galadon grew up in Elantris, and eventually he chooses to leave his father in
yep.
Elantris to go become a farmer in Duladel. So that does explain how he knows so much about the world and other things. And he does also say that I don't know, he does give the number of years, but I can't remember exactly what it is. But his father did choose death after a
Yep.
certain number of years alone in Elantris.
Yeah. So, depression is real.
Oh,
People
100%.
should be
Yeah.
aware of that.
Yeah.
Okay. And if there's a PSA for this episode is, it's okay to open up.
Yeah. Reach out.
Reach
Yeah. Get
out,
help.
and
Yeah.
it will be knocking on your door too to see how you're okay, how you doing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. I will also say that this, like, mental health is a big theme in Sanderson's books, especially in Stormlight Archive. A lot of people have resonated with some of the character storylines and the stuff that they go through. So you'll see themes like this throughout the books that we read. I don't remember. I mean, there's some of it in Mistborn, but definitely Stormlight is the one that's more mental health heavy. But yeah, we'll be getting there. So,
Yay.
so what are we? We're more than halfway through Elantris, right? Yeah.
Yeah. We've just tipped over half.
So we read Elantris, and then we get there's a short story. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So we read through Elantris. There'll be a short story that is probably like one episode.
It's like an
That's
epilogue or
really
something like
short.
that.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then we get to start Mistborn, which is
Oh,
one of my favorite fantasy series ever.
a lot
Um,
of hype, but I don't know. It's
yeah.
a lot of hype.
So we get to
But
read
I'm a
those three
sci-fi guy, so
books, and then we get to go to Stormlight. So yeah. Anyways, there's a lot of good stuff coming up. We just have to
all right.
enjoy the rest of this book.
I feel like we've done one step forward, two steps back. Because before we're like, oh, 3 episodes a week or 3 chapters a week. Not sure how it's gonna last. And then
Yeah.
this past week is like, oh, we covered 5. That's good. It's been 2 weeks already.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. Just so busy.
Oh, I know. So
Real
so
life,
tough.
man.
It's hard.
Anyways,
It's hard.
so all of this talk that
Mm,
Galadon and Raoden are having gives
mm,
Raoden a bit of an insight. And that's when they decide to
mm.
go to the Hall of the Fallen, where the Hoed all are. And he kind of realizes that one of them, who has been repeating something over and
That's
over again,
right.
is an
Yeah.
old Elantrian. We learn that I can't remember. Do you remember what he was saying?
Yeah, I got it right here. Hang on.
Okay, I can't remember what he was saying, but they realize that he's an Elantrian, and he must have been living as a Hoed for over 10 years, which is crazy. He's been dealing with the pain. He's just been sitting there repeating the same thing over and over again. Um, so yeah, do you got it?
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Yes, that's
Once so
right.
very beautiful.
Yes. Okay. So he knows what Elantris used to be.
Mm.
So they managed to get more out of him just by looking like by telling where he's looking. Like he's looking in a direction, so that's where they go. So
It like draws it. Raoden also draws a Seon or
that's right.
sorry, an
Yes.
Aeon sign, and it
Yes.
grabs his attention. He's like, oh,
Yeah.
and it gets his
Kind of.
attention back, and they can
Mhm.
actually like because he points him in a direction to go,
With
and
using his eyes.
using his eyes.
Yeah.
But I also found I don't know if it's in this chapter or not, but like everything that the magic of Aeon was infused with becomes brittle if it's not there. So I
Yes.
recall them like grabbing like marble and saying like,
And it
why is it so
crumbles.
like crumbles? It's like, oh, it's because we have a Elantrian strength or whatever. It's like, no, 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 no. You
No.
like flick it or like smudge it a bit, and it just like that's why there's so much sludge. It's not
Yes.
because it's growing; it's because everything's falling apart.
Yes. Exactly.
So, so it's revealed in a bit that where they go down a path in the secret chamber or a secret
Yes.
path or whatever, that sections of like further down this path, no Aeon has been used and everything is pristine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, um, that's where the old Elantrian is leading them
Mm,
by using his
mm.
eyes to direct them. They take him to this place. There's like a staircase that goes down. I think there's aeons written on the wall, but everything is like there's no
Mm-hmm.
sludge that's not deteriorating at all. There's a lot of books. There's a mural that
They
they
say there's
find.
lanterns still like
There
glowing
might
in
be
the
something
ceiling.
glowing. Yeah, I think you're
I've
right.
heard. Yeah,
Yeah,
let me find it here.
and there's a mural of an Elantrian diving into a lake,
A blue
um,
lake.
a blue lake, which is what they eventually get to. They get to this blue. I think it's a pool. I don't think it's an entire lake, but
It's a pool. It's a
yeah,
pool. Yeah,
a
yeah.
pool of water. And the Elantrian directs Raoden and Galadon and Karada to this path on the mountainside. That's where the pool is, and he directs them to place him in the pool.
Mm-hmm.
They place him in the pool. I think he says something. I can't remember exactly what it is, but he just sort of dissolves into the water,
Like
and it
sugar.
like sugar. Yeah, and
Yeah.
Raoden
It's
is just like,
so scary.
it's pretty cool. Raoden
Oh
is a little
man.
bit taken aback by this, but he
Mm.
also says that he talks to Galadon. He's like, if I ever become like that, you have to promise to take me here. So again, the aware of everything that he's going through, the pain, trying to give these people something to live for, seeing his wife technically, all of this stuff is starting to weigh on him. So he has a contingency plan if he ever does get to the point where he goes crazy enough to turn
Not
mad.
not the best one, but yes, it
Yeah.
is option Z, if you will.
Yes.
Plan Z, the very last thing.
So this pool that they're at, obviously, whatever magical energy there is, there's a lot of it here.
It's well, that's the end of chapter 25.
That is.
So at this point it's speculation
Yes.
as to what it is.
Hmm.
So I don't know I don't think it's the magical source.
No.
No.
Okay. Okay. What do you think it is? You have any ideas? I don't know what it
Well,
is either. I haven't
it's
read this book, but
built so like they go down this cavern
uh-huh.
to go outside, and this pool is like above on a mountain because they have to climb up very high
Yeah.
to overlook Elantris, if I
Mhm.
recall. So to me, it feels like a sacrificial. Um, I don't know what the right term is. Like a ritual, maybe,
Mm.
because there's tons of murals of depictions of Elantrians going through, and it's like walls of text in Aeon, not
Yeah.
using the magic itself, but written in Aeon.
Right.
And I wonder if it is a like a ritual to move on to the afterlife. Like if a Elantrian gets bored of living ever after, this is their way out. I
Mm.
feel like
Yeah,
that's the case.
I think that's definitely what it's used for.
Hmm.
But I have a feeling that there's a lot of magical energy here.
I don't disagree. I don't think it is the source of magical energy that powers
No.
the Elantrians.
No, I don't think so. It's the force that is powering them. It's just, this is a concentration
Ooh,
of the
ooh.
power.
Let's see if I could draw a Star Wars parallel for this water.
It's like the Dark Force cave,
Oh, I was gonna say the
right?
living waters on Mandalore.
Oh yeah, okay. Did you just watch The Mandalorian? That was the latest
Oh,
season.
that was like 2 months ago. I finished
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
finished the whole thing.
Okay, nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is a bit like that. It's a very magically invested place.
yeah.
I'll
You
say
said
that.
the dark caves on
Tatooine
uh
or Dagobah.
Dagobah. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
the one where
Where
Luke
Luke
kills Darth Vader and sees his own face. Yeah, yeah.
confronts his own fears. I think is what it
Mhm.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is that, I think the moral of that is that the battle that he has to conquer is the one with himself, not with
Yes.
his father. Anyways, that's Star
Mm.
Wars. So
Can you tell?
that's
We gave
Star
Star Wars
Wars, guys.
paraphernalia,
Yeah.
and that's
And
Star
we're just
Wars.
gonna have to do a podcast one day where we just discuss all
Can we?
three
Can we do
episodes
that?
where we go through like the
Oh,
Star
I would
Wars
love to
movies.
do that.
Okay, sure.
Oh,
Yeah, we can do that.
a special. Maybe if we get a Patreon up, that's what
Star
we'll
Wars
have.
special, yeah.
Our 1 year anniversary.
There we go. Um so yeah, where
I
do you
love
think
it.
it's going? Where do you think we go?
I don't
Where do
know.
you think we go
It's
from here?
This is the pivot point. Anything can happen. I feel like Hrathen and Dilaf, there's actually going to be a conflict where
Yep.
Hrathen will actually get kicked out of the monastery. No, it's not a monastery. In the
Chapel.
Fjordan Empire and in the Derethi faith, monasteries are like training grounds or like
Mhm.
dojos in a weird way,
Yeah.
like for fighting and like tempering oneself for the
Yeah.
faith, not for like learning. Well, maybe that as well as that, I suppose, but
Mhm.
the church itself, I think he'll just get kicked out. But then also like it's going to be oh, you know what it is? Dilaf is going to approach the nobles first before Hrathen,
I could
or
see that.
torch the nobles,
Yeah,
maybe the two. I don't know.
I think probably Dilaf will have a plan
Mm,
that he thinks will be better than Hrathen's, and he'll try to take over, and they're going
mm-hmm,
to wrestle for power.
mm-hmm.
Um,
Ooh,
Obviously, at some point, Sarene is going to figure out who Spirit is.
yeah, that
That's
depends
got
on
to happen.
Ash. Well, ooh, well,
Or it
that's
depends
my
on
thing.
Raoden if he just gives up and says, "Do you
That's
know
the
who
other
I
thing.
am?"
I think Raiden says, "It's me, princess." The Beauty
Possibly.
and the Beast. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it possibly could happen.
The Phantom of the
There's still
Opera.
like, we haven't seen anything from Kyan, Serene's uncle, in a while.
Ian's been in the background, just hosting parties for her and the nobles. It
Yeah, but
feels like.
at the beginning of the book, we do know that he was a pretty knowledgeable guy. He was sent
Mm-hmm.
away from Teod on a certain mission. We
Oh,
still
that's a
don't know
plot
what his
hole we
mission
don't know.
is.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly. Yeah.
plot threat. That's the one.
We could, we could eventually learn that someone was behind the collapse of Elantris. That
Oh,
it didn't
you know
just
what?
happen.
Well,
That someone
it
made it
had to be
happen.
an active action for sure. An active action, that's stupid. An
That's
action is
okay.
very act. Oh my god.
It's all right. You think someone had to have made it happen? It
Mm-hmm.
couldn't have just happened on its own. It's not a
Well,
natural thing.
I still think that in the past episodes, I'm pretty sure it was like intentionally done, where
Yeah.
someone like maybe like inadvertently had caused it to shake it up or
Hmm.
tried to actually make it stop.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't think the merchants had a hand in it Because if it's always
No.
about money, that's like the dumbest cop out ever.
Yeah, I don't.
Capitalism
They.
was the evil the whole time.
Yeah, no, I
Wow.
don't think they're that forward thinking. I think they're just
No.
more, or they're at least that the breadth of their forward thinking is that
Mm,
wide. I don't think it is. I
yeah,
think it's just
it's
more that
very
they,
shallow.
yeah, it's shallow, it's narrow
Mhm.
around money, and I don't think that they could have foreseen the windfall that they would have had if they were to somehow get rid of Elantris.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I still don't know who. It's 10 years and I still feel like we haven't seen anything regarding Raiden's mom yet.
no,
And Galadon, we found out his origins, but we don't know exactly what he did in Dilladel. He just became a farmer? I don't think so. I think he
mm,
was there in Hrathen's involvement in the fall of the Empire.
yeah,
Or,
that's quite
no,
possible.
no, no, no. He did say no. He did say he
He
was
wasn't.
surprised
Yeah, he wasn't there
by
for
it
the fall of the
falling.
Empire. He was
Mm,
already an Elantrian, whatever they are now. He was in Elantris when that happened, which was like I think Raoden says like 2 or 6 months ago, something like that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it was fairly recent, but still, he was in Elantris at that time
Do
when the
we
when the Republic fell.
find out how long he was affected by the Shaod in Elantris? He
I
said
want
a
to say
year, but
like
I don't trust him
no, I
anymore.
want to say like it was 3 months or something, but
Hmm.
I'm not entirely sure. It's still it's not that long that he's
No.
been there. So yeah, and the king, what's going on there? A lot of these chapters has been, I mean, all of these chapters have either happened or been centered around Elantris. So we haven't had much of like the court or any of that kind of other stuff. I don't know if we will, but yeah, we're a little bit more than halfway. How
Mm.
many chapters are in this book? I'm just
Oh,
looking
let
right
me.
now. 63. So we still got quite a bit to go.
Mm, maybe.
So
Oh, this is new. Or I never bothered to check. In the glossary of the book, you actually have signs and
yes,
Aeon.
yeah, that is there. Yep.
I didn't realize that.
That is in
I
the
feel
back
so
of.
awful.
That's okay. There might be spoilers in there if you look too much. That is in the back of
I close it.
every Sanderson book, and
Oh,
in
cool.
I think in the Mistborn and Forward, it's called
Mm.
the Ars Arcanum. I think is what it's called,
Oh.
and that is just like a area, like especially in Mistborn, you need that because that magic system is so hard. Like it's very very strict, and you have to know like the differences between all. Anyways,
Mm.
that is
We'll get
a
there when we get
common
there.
that we'll get there when we get there. That is a common thing in Sanderson books, and it really helps sort of build out the world and the lore and all that kind of stuff.
Mm.
So yeah,
Mm.
that was a good 5 chapters.
That was a
Next,
good, juicy 5 chapters.
yeah,
Even though
next
it was
week.
21 so maybe that was 4 chapters, but whatever.
So next week we'll be going to the end of chapter 30.
Yeah.
Should be good. I'm excited to see where we get.
Mm.
Yeah, I guess that's it. Hey,
Would you say that's another one for the books,
I
Mike?
knew you were gonna do it. I knew you were
Ah,
gonna do
got
it.
him. Got him.
I was trying to not set you up, but you did
Ooh, it's always ready. It's always ready. Right in the.
it.
Ooh, it's like a holster on my side. Just firing at the hip.
Fastest in the West.
Fastest of the West.
All right. I guess that's it, everybody. We will see you next time.
Next time. Bye.
Bye.